I'm Simon King, and this is What's Wrong. So why am I by myself? Where is my now absent producer, Mikey Greenwood? What am I doing here without anybody else? Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. No excuses. We are looking for a new studio space, and we weren't able to get access to the studio space we have right now. I think we're trying to find something we have a little bit more reliability with, so that we can instead of doing everything all at once, we can kind of do podcasts as we feel. And it just didn't make sense to go in and try and do one episode, and we needed to get organization together and have a bunch of episodes done at once, because that's the only way this makes sense. It's also really hard to get guests together. One of the reasons I started doing a podcast without guests when I first started doing a podcast was because it's a nightmare to get scheduling done. So here we are, me doing the podcast solo. I kind of like it. It's kind of like a retro feel. I'm back to my better sound quality. Maybe not as good video quality as the last time, but I'm just using my laptop because why not, right? It's real lo-fi right now. So it's kind of nice to be back to just you guys and me. I mean, if you were a fan of the old podcast, you'll recognize this format. Except this has better sound without me driving down the freeway with a phone jammed in my seatbelt while I talk into the middle of nothingness. This is actually a little bit more structured, but not much. We will try and get round to a random today and do a couple other things. It may be a slightly shorter podcast, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you guys something, because I don't like the idea of you guys going a week without just the unnecessary blather that you get from me, right? I mean, where would you get your just useless, ridiculous, nonsensical rambling if it wasn't for me? You'd have to go out onto the street and find someone with, maybe mental issues, walking around, had a few whiskeys. Basically, that's me. Anyway, so thank you very much for listening to the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, you could be watching the podcast. You could go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheCitizenStrange, and you could look up the What's Wrong with Simon King podcast. I'm on there, and all our past episodes are on there. And we've been having a great time. It's been a lot of fun. So if you're just listening to this, hey, thanks for listening. If you'd like to watch it, come look at my giant head. And I promise this is not a camera trick. I don't think we've had a shot of me head on in the podcast yet, since we've gone video podcast. This is how big my head is. This is an entire library behind me. It's like a huge library, and then this is just my head. I feel weird staring right down the barrel of the camera too, like I'm just like staring at you, like we're sitting at a table. I'm like, really? Huh? Like unblinking. Like it feels a bit like one of those when you watch a prison show, and they have like or a show where there's a prison and then they have the person come in and they talk, through the divider, the glass divider. I feel like that. I feel a bit like that. I've had a bit of an eventful week. I did something I've never done before in my life. On Sunday, I completely forgot I had a show. I've done we did the math once. My good friend Dylan Reimer and I did the math once, and I think we figured out that at that time I'd done about 8,000 shows, and that was a few years ago now. So I'm probably closer to 10,000 shows than not. So in 10,000 times, I've never once not shown up. And yet on Sunday, I was out with the family doing a little kayaking. Got one of those inflatable kayaks that my lovely Lily friend gave me for Father's Day last year, and so I was out in the inflatable kayak with the little man, and we were out doing some family stuff. And then I got a Instagram message like, "Are you at the club?" I was like, "Club? What?" I was like, "Oh shit!" And there I am holding chicken in one hand and strawberries in the other. I wasn't just walking around like that. I was in a grocery store. Like that's how I hang out. I was like, well, if we're going kayaking, I got to bring the raw chicken and the strawberries, right? Because you never know what'll happen. You could have to appease a seal. So I got the message and I was like, oh shit! And I was way too far away. There's no way I was gonna make it. I was an hour's drive away and had to be on in half an hour. And I was just like, I can't make it. And it was a terrible, terrible feeling. And for someone like myself who has anxiety at the best of times and obsessive compulsive disorder and stuff, I was just I was livid with myself. But you know what though? It's like, I went and I posted on Twitter that I'd done that because I was like, I felt so. And luckily, a really great guy named Justin Nickel, the booker at the club, actually, he filled in for me, and I was really appreciative of that. That was really nice of him to do. And I felt so bad because he's a buddy of mine, and I didn't want to do that to him. I didn't do it on purpose. I just completely fucking forgot, which was a little concerning because I kind of need my memory for my job. If I can't remember things, I like literally got all the words in my head, and so if there's too many if there's too many if there's too many blanks in the memory. Sorry, just gonna move the camera. If there's too many blanks in the memory, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do my job. Because you can't get halfway through a joke and then be like, anyway, here's a goose noise. That's pretty much how I do it. And so I hightailed it. Is that an expression? Hightailed it back to Vancouver. But then I realized about halfway through I was not going to make it. And so I went to Twitter. I took to Twitter. And as my, I tweeted that this had happened. And there were a lot of really nice comedians and people in the business and everything was just like, yeah, this happens. Don't beat yourself up. But I do feel bad that, it's like, everyone's like, well, you're human. Yeah, but then like, when you try not to be, like, not try not to be human, but when you try your best to go above and beyond or like hold yourself to a certain level of professionalism, believing that if you don't do those things in that way, ultimately you're shooting yourself in the foot. It really hurts to make a mistake like that. And it was what bothered me the most was I genuinely had no idea. I know I knew I was on. It wasn't in my phone for some reason, but fair enough. But I often don't need that, so I don't know why. And I looked, it's on my calendar. It's not on my calendar at home, but it's on my calendar on my computer. And I interacted with someone who had tweeted about or posted about it. So I did at some point know it was happening for sure because I talked to the booker and stuff. So, but at some point between that and then what happened, my brain just, fuck it, flushed it. And what concerns me about that is that it can do that. You know what I mean? Like, how much other shit do I just blissfully unaware of? And then I thought about it. I was like, well, how great would it be to just be blissfully unaware of everything? You know what I mean? Just not care, not remember anything. Just Jason Bourne yourself, without the pesky being an assassin thing. So, it was definitely an interesting thing. And here's the other thing that happened too. In my world, for me, that's worst case scenario. That, like, missing a show, not being able to get there on time or not getting there on time is one thing, but completely forgetting a show is totally different animal. And that is, to me, worst case scenario. And yet, I felt bad about it, and I did my best to make amends, but ultimately I accepted the fact that there was nothing I could do about it. Literally nothing I could do about it. I can apologize. I can feel bad about it, which I do. But ultimately, there's nothing I can do about it. And that weird moment of accepting that there's nothing I can do about it actually made me feel kind of better. It was like nice. It was like I felt like I accomplished a smidge of personal growth. Because I feel like me 5 years ago, I would have been off the wall for like a week. And then, I was upset for about 24 hours. But then after, I was like, well, there's literally nothing I can do. I did the best I can to make amends. I apologize profusely. I will double down and make sure. But if that happens once in 10,000 shows, then... that's probably not going to happen for another 10,000 shows, which another 22 years. So, if by the time I'm 66, I miss another show, I'll be a little easier on myself. But for everyone who did send a nice comments, and by the way, for anyone who went to that show and was expecting me, I really apologize. There is no excuse. And I know a couple of fans were upset by that. If you went to that show to see me, and you're listening to the podcast and you didn't get a chance to see me, send me message me on Facebook, send me a letter to www.skpodcast@gmail.com. And, if you're around next Tuesday in Vancouver, I'll make sure we get you some tickets to the dark show we're doing. Like give you a discount code or something. I feel bad, maybe we'll see if we can get you half price or something to that. Because I feel bad that if you went to see me and I just wasn't there, and I know, and the reason I can offer a discount code for anyone who saw that show and I wasn't there is because I know that there weren't that many people that had to see me. There's probably like 4 people. It still sucks. It's still terrible, and I hate to do that, and I hate to disappoint fans, but yeah. It was a trip to like deal with that fear. It was like, I don't know if any of you have ever had you've had a fear and then just flat out accidentally dealt with it. Like, you're just getting up to go to the bathroom on a 747 and you just jump out and you're like, I was always afraid of skydiving, but I guess I'll do it now. You know what I mean? Like, I think that may be a little extreme, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just have a fear that just gets dealt with. And then you're on the other side of it. It's the nearest analogy I can give it is like you're just afraid to swim and then you just fall in the water and then you just figure it out as you go. Because it's very easy to drown in that, right? Like, it's very easy to get in my own head about it. And it was for a few days. And the thing about me that I notice is that I spiral so hard into stuff like that. Like, and you really gotta not, because it's a very difficult. It's been one person posted there like it's been a really rough couple of years, and you don't even think about that stuff until. Because I was like, well, how much, it's disturbing that I'm forgetting things, and I hope this is not a sign of something to come. But then someone pointed out that like it's been a really rough couple of years, and I have been under a lot of stress for just unrelated stuff lately. I've had other stress that's going on, and I've been tired, and I just wonder whether that's maybe what's kind of pushed me a little bit in that direction. Still no excuse, and I'm not making excuses, but it's just interesting to see this sort of the process that got me there. And I do hope that that's the last time that happens. I was very conscious. I had a show yesterday, and I was very conscious of making sure I was there early. When I spend all your time building that reputation, and then, Simon, he just doesn't show up. Anyway, it was yeah. So if you came to that show, I apologize. And like I said, send me a letter, DM me, tweet at me, whatever it is, and we'll get you sorted out with a coupon code for the Dark Show. Which, by the way, that show in Vancouver at the Railway Club is selling out rapidly. We're actually getting close to being done here. So if you want to get in on it, I think if this one's successful, we're going to try and make this a regular thing we do, maybe every 6 weeks or so. So if you're if you want to come see it, it's really we've got some of the lineup. Well, the lineup actually I think is secured. I don't know if podcasts, guests, previous podcast guests. See, I don't have Mikey to make fun of, so I have no one to laugh at my jokes. It's just me. I'm stumbling over words. Previous podcast guest and the only ever double guest we've ever had twice is Harris Anderson. He's co-producing it with me. We're doing that together. And then guests Casey Novak and Dylan Reimer are both on the podcast, or both have been on the podcast and are on the show. And hopefully future guests, Bobby Warner and Laura McGibbon, are on the show as well, and hopefully they will come on our podcast at some point soon. So yeah, I did. I have had a really interesting. I got to do a set at this great comedic institution in Vancouver, comedy talk show called Talent Time, run by a buddy of mine named Paul Anthony. Just absolutely lovely guy. I've known him since I started comedy. Just multi-talented, great actor, just great, really, really funny dude, great comedian. Lovely guy, and it was they were taking a bit of a hiatus, I think, for the summer, and so I got a chance to be on the last one there, which was great. And surprise guest Alan Cumming dropped in and sang a song at the end, which was lovely. Didn't even recognize him backstage, but it was great. So fun. Did stand up there, and that was a really great time. And that's so if you get a chance, I think you can find Talent Time online. I'm not sure exactly where they are, but you can. I mean, if you Google Paul Anthony's Talent Time, you'll find him, and it's so funny, and so I enjoyed that. So that's what I've been up to basically. I've been kind of I've got a tour coming up in British Columbia actually, and we're about to announce those dates any moment now. It's in about a month, and I'm doing, I think it's July 5th to 12th. I will post all the information at thisissimoncking.com/in person, and then obviously I'll tweet all that and everything. But that's going to be cool. So I think we're going to Hope and Merritt, Vernon, Kamloops, Kelowna, Prince George, Quesnel, Terrace, Smithers, maybe. Williams Lake. There's a lot of places. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. So it's, you know what? It's kind of like weird. I haven't done a podcast just to you guys, just by myself in a long time. And I was expecting it to be a little bit more bumpy than it is, but I kind of just like comfortable. Maybe I should start doing these once in a while again too, because I absolutely love. And by the way, now that he's not here, I can talk about him. I absolutely think Mikey Greenwood is one of the best human beings in the world. Not only is he a fantastic producer, and I know you guys love him, but he's also a lovely human being and just like such a ball of positive energy and so encouraging of the podcast and so encouraging of the guests and such a great guy. So, don't tell him I said this. He's not going to listen to this one because he's not in it, but absolutely just the best dude. Love that guy. And so glad to be working with him. So glad we're doing that with a guest thing. I'm curious to know what you guys think about it, because it is a different thing. Because when I started What's Wrong with Simon King, that's kind of why I didn't change the name and start a whole new podcast, because I was like, it is part of the evolution. Because when I started What's Wrong with Simon King was like 2013, I think, or 2014, I can't remember, 2013. And I was in a bit of a darker place as a person and as a comedian, and I was trying to learn new things and trying to grow and do all the stuff I was doing. And, you trying to you're trying to navigate life. And definitely, the podcast started out with a certain feel and then moved to more of a, like, almost like an audio diary type thing. But it's definitely led me to connect with a lot of you guys, and I'm super appreciative of that. Because I was actually talking about this last night with a couple of newer comics who run a fun room in Kitsilano, and I dropped in and closed up there. And I was saying, it's like if you're the same comic you were 20 years ago, then that means you haven't grown as a person, So, but as you grow as a person, you go through these steps, right? So you go through this thing of being like, well, I was more grumpy then, and I'm more cynical now, or I'm more, I lost my joy. I couldn't find my optimism. I found my optimism. I have too much optimism. I don't have enough, critical thinking. And so I think it's interesting to see. I think one day I'm going to have an interesting catalog, as a lot of artists do. And I hasten to use the word artist, but it's the only thing that kind of makes sense. I think I'm going to have an interesting catalog or an interesting kind of timeline of my life when I look back on it one day, if I make it that far. And I'm going to look back and be like, oh, these are the, this is where you were at when you were 27. This is where you're at when you were 33. This is where you're at when you were 39. This is where you're at when you were 47. I'm going to be able to look at that. And because your art is an expression, or at least with stand-up particularly, is very personal and an expression of who you are. And so I'm going to be able to look at those and get a really interesting and probably horrifying view of who I am, who I was, hopefully who I will be. So the podcast, when it started out like that, was intended to be just sort of like this one person thing. And, scheduling guests is difficult. And I kind of wanted it to be more a shorter podcast, but more intimate, more connected to you guys. And that's what it evolved into. And then I did a run of episodes where I just wanted to get some topics off my chest so that I had a record of what I was thinking about at the time and how I was thinking, like a rolling sort of like memoriam of my former self. So you look back on it and you go, this is who you were, this is who you are. And then once the special came out, I was like, I really should be producing content all the time. And then my social media guy was like, well, you need to be doing your podcast again. I was like, I think I've done enough. I don't know what else I can do with it. He's like, well, why don't you change it? And then here we are. But now we're back temporarily, just for the one episode, maybe, to this. So I know what we'll probably do is we'll probably go back in and, record another 2 or 3 to get us through till July. But it looks like we have a new studio space in July, so then things will be a little... And then I've got some road work to do. I'll go on the road. I've got some stuff. So it may be a little bit fluid for the next little while, but we'll make sure we get you an episode every week. Don't worry about that. And if you sign up for the Patreon, you will still get those bonus episodes, which, the last bonus episode was super fun. It was just me and Mikey. And it was kind of nice to do like some letters, because there's a few hundred of you now on the regular. I mean, we joke about it, but we're doing better. If you want to sign up for the Patreon, you can. Patreon.com/thisisSimonKing. It's basically, I'll post that, and then there's a coupon on there for tickets for the Dark Show. And then what I'm going to do too is try and start. I'm going to look into merch. Why not? Let's see if we can look into some merch and stuff, get some discounts for Patreon people, and start making the Patreon more of a thing. If you are a Patreon member, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you're enjoying the extra podcast episodes, and then we'll start throwing some more stuff on there for you soon. But I hope you're enjoying them. And by the way, you can only get the Patreon podcast episodes on YouTube, or by going through the Patreon and linking to the YouTube. There's no audio-only version of those. They are just on YouTube. So if you want to listen to the Patreon episodes, go to Patreon, click on the link, and then you can watch the Patreon episodes. If you guys want me to start putting up the Patreon episodes where you can download the audio, we can figure that out for sure. Just make it so you can if you subscribe, you get the audio. But right now, we're just doing it through YouTube because that's really where we're trying to put most of the podcast. It's nice that you listen, and if you are listening too, please write us a review or give us a thumbs up or a like or 5 stars or whatever the hell it is. I don't even know. Everything these days is just reviews. Imagine if that was the way it was like 20, 30 years ago. You go into a diner. It's like, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Let's go even further back. Let's go to 50 years ago, 1972, right? You go to a diner, and you go and you have a dinner, and they go, how was your dinner? And you go, oh, it's good. And they go, well, could you give us a review? Give us a like? And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just said it's good. Like, get the fuck out of here. And now it's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'll go on my phone. And this is just old men complaining about how technology is. I know that. I know it's just old man complains. Old man complain. That would be a good podcast. Old man complains. And they just pick a topic every week and go, I don't understand them. They scare me. I've been doing some writing work, which is nice. That's been keeping me busy, and a little bit of voiceover stuff, so that's kind of fun. I'll tell you guys about that project when it comes out. We are making it, so it is going to come out. It's just a matter of when it comes out. But I can tell y'all guys about that. Oh, you tell y'all guys about that. I tell y'all guys about that right now. This so sweet. The Whistling Podcast. Hey, you're listening to Tales of the Old West. What's that voice? That sounds like a famous voice. You're listening to Tales of the Old West. Wasn't that in the Robin Hood movie? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Sheriff of Nottingham. Who was it? No, it wasn't the sheriff. Because King John was the... Wasn't he a lion? I don't remember. No, King John wasn't a lion. He was like a... What was he at? A wolf? I don't know. So, I'm just getting up... And this is old man talk, too. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that, like, missing a show, So weird. Such a weird... It's totally not Simon King behavior. But maybe that's good. Because, not all Simon King behavior has been stuff I like. There's a lot of Simon King behavior I don't enjoy. And maybe we're getting past some of it. Maybe we're starting to just relax, man. It's like, whatever. It's like going to be just... You just chill out. You don't have to be everything to everyone, man. You could just be everything to you, bro. Still making myself laugh, even though there's nobody else here. It is easier to do when there's other people here to bounce off. I'll tell you that much. It is easier to just bounce off other people and be silly. It's harder to let myself be as goofy alone. Because I'm not naturally goofy. Basically the extent of me being goofy alone is singing stupid songs to myself, which I do. But like when I'm doing housework and stuff, sometimes I'll do stupid noises just for an hour. Yeah. And that bit about cottage cheese in the last special, As Good As or Better Than on YouTube, is true. I did actually do that. Cottage cheese, cottage cheese, cottage cheese. It's a fun voice to do. Oh, I'm not even drinking booze because it's the middle of the day. All right, I'm actually doing this on the day the podcast is supposed to come out too. I'm really being a maniac here, flying by wire. So you know what? We're about 25 minutes in or something like that. What are we in? About 23 minutes in. I think it's time for Let's Get Random. There's nobody else here. All right, so now anyone who doesn't know what this is, that's listening to the podcast, it's a random topic generator that I found on the internet for people who have social problems. So that would be stand-up comedians. And I'm just going to look at it here. Hold on. And I found it's basically a random topic generator. The idea is we just have to answer the question. So let's hit the random generator. Okay. Where is the worst place you have been stuck for a long time? Career-wise? Canada. No, I love Canada. Where's the worst place you've been stuck for a long time? Actually, you know what? On my birthday, actually September 4th, the day before my birthday, that's why my birthday is, September 4th, back in 2015, I was doing a gig in Manchester and up in England. And it's one of those things where it's like I've never had a show. No, that's not true. I did the store up there once, but I've never really had a show in Manchester that just, I think go fine, but nothing that really hits all the buttons, And it was one of those. I was coming back out of that, and I was like, well, that sucks. And the way the buses worked, the national coach or whatever, is I had to stay in the Manchester bus station for 5 hours, maybe something like that. And I don't mind waiting for things. Like I take layovers for flights and stuff all the time. I got stuck in the Edmonton airport for 9 hours once, and that's fine. It happens. But that's an airport. This is a bus station. There's no bathrooms because they were all closed. It's like Manchester. And if you've ever been to Manchester, you know what I mean by saying it's Manchester. And it was just one of those things where it was just like cold and miserable. And maybe because it was my birthday the next day, and I was like, what are you doing with your life, man? Like, I was turning 38 at the time. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I think I just had that extra misery of just waiting for this bus to come and just being like, great. And then what? Then I get to do this again? You know, like it was just that feeling of like real defeat. And so that kind of made the stay longer. But it's also an open air bus station in Manchester. It's only as, you know, the smell of urine and the yelling in the distance and the, you know, nowhere to sit because every chair is, or every seat is fucking filthy. Like, you know, it's not ideal. So that's probably the worst place. If I had to, off the top of my head, I'm sure I could come up with more if I had to, but that's the first place. That's what I'm thinking initially. Pardon me while I have a drink. All right, let's do another one here. Where is the most awe-inspiring place you've been? Kind of the opposite. Yeah, it's got to be something in nature, right? Like, I mean, it's got to be, you know what I mean? Like, I've been to places like Dubai and stuff, and, you know, seen the Burj Khalifa, which is, you know, awe-inspiring for its height. Same with the Petronas Towers, and, you know, and then London is a beautiful place, and it's awe-inspiring. So there's lots that are. But, I mean, nature really is something else. I remember years ago, my lady friend and I went to Ucluelet, and it was really, really windy. I love storms. I love wind, and that's why shoulder seasons are my favorite. Spring, particularly fall. Sort of mid to late fall is my favorite. Like, anything from end of October to, like, winter is my favorite. I just love it. I love the wind. I love the cold. I love it. It's a fat guy thing. Fat guys like cold, more jackets. And then no one's like, you should take your shirt off. And I'm like, no, freeze my tits off. So it's acceptable. But we went, and it was in March. Or was it March, or was it? No, that was March. And so the weather was really kicking up. And it was amazing. We were out near a lighthouse there, and the ocean, and just to be around waves that strong, and the wind, and that was pretty awe-inspiring. That was pretty great to see the power of Mother Nature at that kind of close proximity. And, yeah, that was pretty awe-inspiring. That was pretty good. There's been the Rockies, I did a thing where once I had to take the northern route through the Rockies. I had to go northern and then down through the Rockies because the actual road I need to take to get to Calgary was closed. The number one was closed. And so I had to go up through the top, and it added a bunch of time. I had to go through Jasper, and then I got to Jasper at like 1 in the morning. And luckily I didn't have a show that night. But then I drove from Jasper all the way down to Banff and then across. That was the only way to miss that kind of gap between Revelstoke and Golden that was broken. And I went all the way down, and at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I was just 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I was in the Rockies, no one around. I just had my little cup of coffee, and I pulled over and just got on the hood of my truck and just looked, like, you know, SUV, I guess, and just lay there and looked up for a bit until it got too cold, because it was so clear and so fresh and so peaceful, and, you know, nothing around. Just it's one of those moments you're just like, I need to take this in. I need to take this in. And it was pretty awe-inspiring, too, because you're in the middle of the Rockies. You're completely alone. Being alone, being away from people is kind of an event in and of itself nowadays. Like, knowing that there's nobody around. I mean, as much as you can know. There could have been a guy in the bushes. I don't know. But being as far as you can from people and, like, having that freedom is, that in and of itself is kind of, like, awesome. I don't know if it's awe-inspiring, but it definitely is an amazing thing to have that kind of just moment of, like, I am alone. Completely alone for, you know, and then I can leave. Not like someone just dropped you off there and you're like, well, see ya. So that was pretty good. I think, you know, there's so much beauty in Canada, British Columbia particularly, that it's really hard to pick one spot. But I would, if anyone ever happens to be trapped and having to go from Jasper to Banff, or Banff to Jasper in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, or the beginning of winter, or I can't remember when it was. I think it was December. I encourage you to do it. Get out, lie on the hood of your car, look up the sky, have a cup of hot chocolate, whatever, get back in your car, go to the gig. All right, let's do another one of these. Okay. What do you think about game shows? Do you have a favorite one? I don't know. I don't really have a thought on game. I mean, do you really think about game shows? I think I kind of like the idea of you know, some sort of audience. Like, it is nice to have entertainment that has, like, you know, a variable to it, like a who knows what could possibly. I mean, before reality shows, game shows were the first reality shows, really, because there was an unscripted element to it that didn't exist on television before game shows. And I think that, I mean, yeah, they had live television, but it was regimented and controlled. So I do like that. Like, you never know who you're going to get. You can get someone who's like way too excited, or someone who's not excited at all. Or one time they had a serial killer on. That was exciting. And they did on the dating game. There was a serial killer on the dating game. Can't remember his name, but I believe he actually got the date. I can't remember. You could look that up. You can Google it. I'm not going to Google it. That's what I have Mikey for. He's not here. So that's what he did wrong this episode. He's not here. Poor bastard. So mean to him. Yeah, I think they're fine. I don't really have a favorite game show. Price is Right's fun to watch just because it's like, it's total brain candy. Like, there's absolutely nothing in it that's of any use, because you're never going to need to know, how much a rally bicycle or, a blend plus blender costs in real life. You can just look it up. And it becomes less useful, too, now that we have smartphones. I don't know if anybody ever did that, though. It's like, I got to go shopping. Let's bring Irving, the kid from down the street who knows all the prices. That back then, a smartphone used to be just 10 different people, right? It's just everybody knew something about something. Hey, Bob knows geography. Sally knows chemistry and math. Let's bring them with us. We can fucking figure shit out. Just followed by an entourage of people who knew. That'd be okay if you were like a rapper or a movie star or an actor or something, and you had an entourage, but there were people who had useful skills. Like, oh, this is Fast Eddie. He's really good with knots. Just in case I need him. This is Danielle. She's a calligrapher. I never know. I might need it. I might need calligraphy. You never know, right? So I keep these people around. I've got 35 people I bring with me. All got different skills that I need. Yeah, you need a pimple popped? Go see Mac. That's what you do. He'll pop your pimples. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have a favorite game show? You could send me a letter and let me know. Let's do one more of these. I'm going to make you listen to me too much longer. What type of kid were you? E.g., spoiled, rebellious, well-behaved, quiet, obnoxious? I was quiet and obnoxious. So I'm very shy. So I had a hard time kind of, being around people, but I was also obnoxious because I was like trying to be funny to protect myself from the fact that I was shy. So I was that. And then I wasn't rebellious, really. I was confused. I think I was not sure what any of it meant. And I was probably a little, looking back on it now, a little bit nihilistic, actually, because I didn't really have any purpose or understand purpose. Yeah, I've spent most of my life just being and hoping that things make sense. Because you think too much and your brain just melts down, and so you try not to think, and then you're like, oh, I can't because I have to think. And so, but as a kid, I don't think I had the skills to deal with that yet. So yeah, I would err on the side of, what, I got spoiled, well-behaved. I was well-behaved. Yeah, I was a well-behaved kid. Yes, I don't think I needed to be disciplined very much at all. I was very, maybe that comes with a part of being like, self-conscious or not having a lot of confidence. So you're just well-behaved because you're like, I don't want to get done. I don't want to piss anybody off. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I'd say obnoxious. But the thing is like when people ask you, when you do comedy, and there was like, were you the class clown? I don't think so. I mean, I didn't try to make the crowd laugh, like the class. I wasn't trying to make them. I did make an effort to try and make people laugh to defend myself. So that's probably where that comes from. But it wasn't to try and get attention. It was to try and divert negative attention. You know what I mean? So it's like if someone was to make a joke about you, if you get to that joke first, they can't. It's not going to be as funny. I learned that early on, that humor is diluted. Jokes are diluted the more times you hear them. So that I did. So in that sense, I was obnoxious in the sense of getting to jokes more quickly than the other people and trying to say stuff. And then I think as you get older, you get a little bit more sure of your superpowers. You do start to, definitely, I think you could become more obnoxious in a negative way, not in a defensive way, sort of in a look at me way. But, that's how some of us end up as comedians. Let's do one more. What weird or useless talent do you have? Holy shit, they had a gold mine here. I have so many useless talents. Like just absolute. Like I can do the splits. Yeah, I'm weird flexible. I can vibrate my eyes. Let's see if I can do it. I don't know if that's actually working. If you're listening and you're not watching it, you need to be watching because I'm trying to make my eyes kind of shake back and forth. I can fold my tongue, I think. I can do that. I can whistle. I can wiggle my ears. I can, I can do that. I can do lots of weird shit. I'm very weirdly designed. I feel like like French cars, like a Citroen. Like they always had a lot of options. Like in the old days, they had a lot of options, but they weren't super practical. That's me. There's a lot going on. I can do a shit ton of weird voices and noises and everything like that. I can. What else can I do that is weird? Fucking just. I don't know. Podcasting. Is that a unique and weird talent? No. I swear. You know that Carl Sagan thing where he's standing on a beach? He's like, there are more stars in the sky than grains of sand on this beach. He could have been talking about podcasts. There are so many fucking podcasts. We actually did break the top 20 on Podomatic for podcasts. And I think they have 10,000 or so. And I think, in our category. And so that makes me feel pretty good. 10,000 podcasts in general. And I think there's 1,000 in our category. So it is nice to feel like we're in the top, 0.3% or 3%. That's nice. That does feel good. So I did. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, my useless talent definitely isn't promotion and marketing. That's actually a very useful talent. I wish I had the marketing talent that a lot of people have. I have, however, been spending time on TikTok. I've been trying to grow my TikTok presence, which even just saying those words. But, I'd have to pick a social media platform I could dedicate some time to. So I thought, well, we'll just put a couple of months work into TikTok and see what happens. And it's been positive so far. We've had some videos that have gone well. But, it always brings out the fucking weirdos. Like I posted one about how liberals, we're too busy arguing amongst ourselves about individual identity politics and everything else. So we don't actually organize properly. And we're also apathetic. So we don't actually get out and vote. And the whole point was that liberals are apathetic and don't want to get in, or have their own personal agendas far too much over and above, and so we don't actually get any real positive change done a lot of the time. I mean, I'm not saying there's no victories, but we don't get a lot of positive change done. We just kind of sit back and let the right organize themselves and get more involved because they're more involved. And the actual video that I posted, the whole point I did it was kind of trolling because I posted it because I wanted to say that about how I think about liberal people and our politics and the way we behave. But I also was pointing out what I thought would happen, which is exactly what happened. The internet is mostly, not mostly, but a lot of it is extremist trolls from both sides, but most of it's from the right. And because they're out there like attack dogs, they're just wandering around all the time, just looking for something to go after you for. It doesn't matter what you say, they'll try and make it into a political argument. And that's exactly what happened. 95% of all the comments on that are from right-wing people, just looking for a fight. And that was the point, is it's about liberals for liberals, and yet left-wing people not involved. And I'm not talking liberals as in Canadian Liberal Party. I'm talking liberal as in progressive political and social change and, ecological preservation and economic equality, like, human shit. But it was interesting to see that, like, when you have a video that has a little bit of success, the amount of fucking dick bags that just come out of the woodwork, because of course they're trying to grab onto it as well. They want you to engage, and the problem is I have to engage. It's part of the strategy for it. So yeah, I don't know. If you're on TikTok anyway, this is Simon King on TikTok. I'm trying to make myself more easy. I just kept unfamous on Twitter because I like it, but everything else is pretty much this is Simon King. And you know what? I'm probably gonna cut the podcast off there. I really appreciate you guys listening, and I know it's been a bit of a weird podcast this week, but I wanted to make sure you guys got one regardless. And if for some reason we can't get in the studio next week, we'll do the same thing. But I want to make sure you guys get a podcast. Maybe we'll just do one of these once in a while anyway, because I kind of like it. It's nice talking to you guys again. Just you and me, hey? Just hanging out. You can like and subscribe the podcast on YouTube, please, if you could. Please feel free to share it. You can go on the podcast has a Facebook group, What's Wrong with Simon King, and then there's also my fan page on Facebook, which I don't really go on much, but I'm trying to. I've got some social media people taking over for me now, so we'll get them to do that. Instagram, this is Simon King, and TikTok, this is Simon King, which that's interesting. I had a couple of videos do well on TikTok, and I think I had 3,000 followers 2 months ago, and now I'm like 11.5 thousand. It's interesting to see how it climbs. So I'm going to try and get that to 1 million. And by that I mean 11.6 thousand. Or you can follow the podcast on Twitter at www.skpodcast and send us a letter at www.skpodcast@gmail.com. At the end of this video, there will be a link to the Patreon. This is Simon King, patreon.com/This is Simon King. And like I said, sign up there and you get, there's a lot of ad bullshit. I usually spread it out, don't I? Yeah, just reach out, get in touch. Let's make this, if you want to talk. Let's do it. And then, and like I said, feel free to send letters too, because we'll read them when we start getting letters that are kind of like more than a few. Because I'd like to keep them for the Patreon if we can. When we get more than a few letters, we'll start reading them on the podcast more regularly. Because we had a few there, and then nothing for a while. So, fair enough. I'm not that interesting. Anyway, I really appreciate it, and I know it's just me, but I guess that's what's wrong this week.